Hey, what up, everybody? I'm Ari Temkin, and what a crazy Monday this is going to be. Cowboys beat the Jaguars 40-7, as everyone expected, obviously. I'm Ari Temkin, part of the Dallas Cowboys pre- and post-game show on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. And, of course, you can catch me live every day right here at 12 o'clock noon, streaming live, the most interactive Cowboys show out there. You ask, we discuss, we interact. That's how this works. I'm live on Phantom, which is putting you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion. So everybody hit your comments. Make sure to hit that share button and share your thoughts. Cowboys with a huge, huge win in multiple ways. 40-7 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville coming in was number 3 in total defense points and number 1 in total defense yards. So one of the top defenses in the NFL and one of the worst offenses in the NFL completely and utterly shredded them. 40 points for a team that was averaging 16.6 points per game coming in. Just an unbelievable windfall of points for a team that had looked completely lost and gone. Where all of last week, we're trying to figure out how quickly Jason Garrett's going to be replaced. His team had his back, and they put up a major, major victory for the Dallas Cowboys. Keith Stone says shared. Neil Favre said, I said Dallas 13-10. I way shortchanged us and gave the Jags too much credit, LOL. Chris Bennett says, yo, Ari, it's cold outside. Yeah, it is. It's freezing cold and rainy here in Texas. Joe Tranchina says 40-7. Was it a dream? Keith Stone says, well, Ari, we ate crow last night. Yeah, I'd say we all ate crow for the most part, unless you're Solar, Anthony Donaldson, who predicted this. By the way, he predicts the Cowboys win every week. So far, he's been right 3 times and wrong 3 times. But Solar, this is your platform, my buddy. So tell me where I was wrong and why you were right. Let's see here. Patrick Prescott, Rudo Olivas in the house. Tanya Cowboys says, only if they can pull this off every week. We got this. I mean, the shrug emoji is the perfect emoji for the outcome yesterday. Like, just the perfect emoji for, like, I don't... it's funny. At the game last night, Jesse Holly and myself, we do the pre- and post-game show on 105.3 The Fan and the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. And so we got in the elevator from the press box to go down to the field level with, Derek Eagleton and David Hellman from DallasCowboys.com, newspaper writers, other radio personalities, and we're all like, what? How could this have happened? There is nothing, it's not just that they put up 40 points. It's not just that a bad offense put up 40 points. It's that a bad offense put up 40 points against one of the best defenses in the NFL. And, I mean, everything worked. I said last week the Cowboys would win this game if they could be at least +2 in the turnover ratio. Now, they were, but that really wasn't the reason they won. They won this game because they thoroughly and utterly dominated in every way. And part of it's this, we just don't know of the NFL. Part of this is, look, these things happen in sports, and especially in the NFL, where the Bills are 17-point underdogs, and they go on the road to Minnesota and win a game. There's a lot that goes into week-to-week preparation, and sometimes bad teams beat good teams, sometimes good teams beat bad teams, sometimes we just don't know. And so I think this is especially true when it comes to the first 2 months of the NFL season. You can certainly learn things and trends about teams based on the quarters, first quarter, second quarter, but we really don't know, generally speaking, everything in the NFL short of 2 months of this season, right? The first 8 weeks will give us a pretty good indication of what we should see moving forward, but it's you look at this outcome and it's wow, we know nothing. We thought we knew that the Cowboys' offense was really bad, and yet they put up a ridiculous showing offensively against one of the best defenses in the NFL. So I guess I'm at a loss for words. Solar says if Dak balls, we win. Yeah, but what was different about Dak yesterday that we hadn't seen in the past? What was, it's funny, one of the cliches, it's well, their play calling was good. Well, what was different about the play calling? I mean, it wasn't like Scott Linehan suddenly woke up Sunday morning and was I should call more zone read option, read option plays. Like they've been calling them throughout the course of the year. They called them in the Seahawks game. It didn't work. It's a big part of this win was the offensive line, because I think that's where it starts. We're talking about one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. Malik Jackson and Ngakoue and Dante Fowler and Calais Campbell. This is one of the best defensive lines in football. So it starts up front where Dak Prescott had all the time in the world. And it also starts with the RPO working. It worked very, very well for the Cowboys. Why did it work this week and not other weeks? I don't know. Maybe it was because they saw things on film that saw that Jacksonville would over pursue and would allow them opportunities in the RPO. But I think the success they had on offense is in many ways attributable to that run-pass option in the offensive line working very, very well. And you had Dak Prescott completing some passes down the field. Now, he wasn't perfect. He missed some throws. He had Tavon Austin, open down the field, and he overthrew him. But this was thorough and utter domination. I think we expected that the Jacksonville offense wouldn't be very good. We certainly didn't expect the Jacksonville defense to play like that. Steve Eason says play to Dak's strengths. Sean Moore says they let him run. Again, he's probably carried the football in every game they played this year. So there were components of the RPO that just worked so well in their favor, and I think a big piece of that was how the defense was playing them. With Jacksonville's defense, what you see is what you get, and so they don't move around a lot. They don't show blitz and then back off. Like they kind of just line up, and that's what you got, and they over pursue at times. So I think whereas in Seattle, where they sort of Bobby Wagner sort of stayed home on the RPO so that he could play both equally. I think Jacksonville sort of over-pursued the initial piece, and that allowed the Cowboys to, fake the run to one side and then bootleg Dak to the other side to complete passes on the other side or to run upfield. Joe Deasy says impressive win yesterday. Neil Favre says Miles Jack is good, but we look like geniuses now taking Jalen and being patient. Yeah, Jalen played very, very well, and now there's a question of, what happens to Sean Lee when he comes back, which is crazy, right? We never thought we would be asking that, but now it's at a point in time where Sean Lee comes back and they go with that nickel package, which does not include 3 linebackers. They're probably going to stick with Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch, right? Which is crazy. It's a crazy thing. Jason Wright says play calling was way better. Cody Arnold says, did Ramsey play? Didn't hear his mouth after the game. Yeah. Ramsey did play. He was didn't have much to say after the game, which, look, if you're going to be the one chirping when you win, don't be a front runner. Don't be a guy that's now silent and not willing to say anything when you lose. I think Jalen Ramsey is good for the game. I enjoy his chirping. I think it's kind of funny, but he's a front runner. He's a clear front runner. When things are going well, he's out there, he's talking, he's putting himself out there, he's excited. Yesterday he was in the locker room, he had like 3-word answers. He wasn't in the mood to chirp like he was when things are going well. So, surprise, surprise. By the way, I'm Ari Temkin. This is Showtime right here on Phantom, broadcasting live across multiple Facebook pages and multiple YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. We're everywhere. Wherever you are, we are. That's what Phantom is, bringing sports, live sports to you in the social channels and putting you at the center of the Dallas sports discussion. So wherever you are, posting your comments, I will try to get to them as quickly as I possibly can. Make sure if you haven't already, if you're on Facebook, hit the share button. That way we can reach as many Cowboys fans as possible and continue to spread the dialogue. Fastest way to get in touch and to interact is by going to Phantom at facebook.com/watch Phantom, spelling right there. Fastest way to get your comments heard. Sean Moore says, I loved Beasley burning church on that touchdown. And by the way, Tyler Patman was the guy that Cole Beasley routinely beat. And you might remember Tyler Patman from his time with the Dallas Cowboys. And it's funny because I didn't realize he was with Jacksonville. I don't know why he's in, what he's doing, but he wasn't very good when he was with the Cowboys, which is why he was cut. And it's funny because it was almost like the Cowboys looked on film and were like, oh, I know that guy. Oh, we could beat him pretty easily. And they're like, oh, yeah, Cole, he'll be on you. We're going to go to you exclusively. And I was watching the game. You guys remember Tony the Thrill Hill, right? You guys all remember Tony Hill? So he I'm lucky enough to watch all these games, home games, with him in the press box. So I'm basically flanked in the middle by Tony Hill and Jesse Holley, which is really cool. But he's close with Cole Beasley. In fact, Tony Hill coached Cole Beasley in high school in basketball. And so he said at the beginning of the game, he said to me, Cole said he's going to be targeted, pretty heavily targeted in this football game. And we saw it was the best game we've seen from Cole Beasley in a long time. It was the first 100-yard receiver the Cowboys have had since Week 9 against the Chiefs last season. It was the first time Cole Beasley caught a touchdown pass since that same game, Week 9, the Chiefs game last season. Cole Beasley, 101 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. I said last week, the receivers were an issue against Houston, whether it was they weren't coming back to the football, they weren't running their routes right. If you line up all your receivers in a row and you say, who's your most reliable? I said it's Allen Hurns and Cole Beasley. Well, Hurns, they probably should have targeted him less because it looked like he was sandbagging. Like the ball would come his way and he wouldn't even put his arms out. I don't know if he didn't see it or what, but Beasley's the guy that knows the position. He knows the nuances, how to get in and out of the breaks, those kinds of things. Like he's the guy that you're not going to worry about, that you worry about with some of these other guys that came to the forefront during their loss against Houston. And, so Beasley's reliable. He knows the nuances of the position. He's the better guy to target. And obviously it played out huge this week. And I think a big piece of why they targeted him was because they knew Tyler Patman couldn't cover him. And former Cowboy Tyler Patman did not hold up very well in coverage. The Jaguars, by the way, have a lot of former Cowboys. Barry Church, Tyler Patman, Jeremy Parnell. They have Joe DeCamillis as their special teams coordinator. So there were a lot of Cowboys making a homecoming, if you will. But Tyler Patman, I think a big thank you to Tyler Patman because without him, I don't know that Cole Beasley has the day that he had. On the Dallas Cowboys report page, Tracy Foster in the house says, changed my jersey, shared. Nice. Diana Lopez says hi. Hi, Diana. How are you? Tracy Foster says, who caught the balls? Well, I mean, they had 7 different receivers catch passes. 2 caught more than 1. So you basically had 5 different receivers catch at least 1 pass. Cole Beasley obviously had 9 receptions, and Michael Gallup caught 2 passes. So Gallup with 2 receptions, Cole Beasley with 9, 5 other receivers had 1. One of the most important statistics for the Cowboys' success this season in particular is going to be the amount of different receivers that are targeted and have a catch. 7 was the number in this game. In fact, if you look through the box score on most games, you could probably see if the Cowboys won or lost based on how many receptions and how many yards different receivers have. When they're spreading the ball around, and we said that was what they said would make them successful this offseason. When they're spreading the ball around, they're getting other people involved. That's when they're at their best. And that's how they set up their roster to be this season. And so far, in their wins, the 3 at home, that's how it's looked. Let's see here. Sean Moore says, wow, that's kind of pathetic. What? The fact that it was their first 100-yard receiver since Week 9 of last season? Mike Lafferty says, must be nice, Ari. It's not bad. You're talking about watching the game with Tony Hill and Jesse Holley. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm very lucky in that regard. Henry Munoz says it looked like Hearn stopped running on a few passes. Yeah, stopped running. One, again, there's a perfectly thrown ball in the end zone for him that he didn't even look up for. Like, he just looked ahead and it was like, are you on the same page with your guy? Are you sandbagging right now because you're mad or what? But there was a touchdown pass that he had that he only put out his arms. It would have been delivered perfectly to him. He didn't even put out his arms, though. Keith Stone says, honestly, I can easily see that being a low-score game. Division matchups are rarely high-scoring with the Cowboys. You're talking about the Redskins game. Not so now, I do think it's important to note that this is a big win, a great win, a monumental win, and perhaps a win that changes your opinion of this team. But this win means a lot less if they go out and lay an egg next week in Washington, right? That's a divisional game, a much more important game when you look at the composition of the schedule. And that's what I wanted to ask all of you watching this today. Cowboys win 40-7, and not just that they won a game, but they beat a really, really good Jaguars defense, maybe the best in the NFL, and scored 40 points against it. So does this win change your opinion of this season, change your expectations of this season? Thumbs up if you say, yes, it does. And heart emoji if no. Still want Garrett fired. They're still a bad team on the road for 8-8. So let me know how you feel with the emoticons, emojis, thumbs up or heart emoji for how you feel the rest of the season could go. Steve Eason says Hearns wants out. And by the way, I'm going to start to make a big push this week for the Cowboys to go make a trade for Demaryius Thomas so that they can acquiesce and let Allen Hearns out, because they should be cutting him and they should find a guy to replace him. And I think that guy to replace him is Demaryius Thomas. Let's see here. Tracy Foster says, I didn't see Zeke do much yesterday. He had over 100 yards rushing. He caught a pass for 11 yards. So it's kind of funny, right? A very quiet over 100 yards rushing for Zeke Elliott, but had a touchdown, had a good game, did the strut walk like Conor McGregor, which, by the way, I also thought was funny because McGregor just got choked out in a fight. So it was like they were doing the McGregor celebration right after he got choked out, which was kind of funny and kind of Cowboys, to be quite honest with you. Like, they talked about how much Conor McGregor was an inspiration. Dude, he lost. He got choked out. I don't know what you were inspired by, but apparently McGregor fired them up, so it looks like Jerry Jones is going to be flying Conor McGregor to every single game for the rest of the season. Perhaps he's a new Chris Christie for this team. You know, sort of a mascot for them. I'm not sure. Diana Lopez says, well said. I think we're still a work in progress, but they had a great game yesterday, so super exciting about that. Sue Brown says, do you think Sean Lee should retire? No. But I'm pretty sure this will be his last year with the Cowboys, whether or not he chooses to retire or go play elsewhere. I think the Cowboys are at a really good point in time right now to where, any other year they've lost him for any amount of time, and it was like, oh God, when is he going to come back? Because this defense just can't hold up without him. And now, with how we've seen Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith play together in that nickel package where you've got two linebackers, which is basically the majority of the offense or defense they're playing, now you can't bring Sean Lee back in the lineup. Like, that's where they're at right now. They're at a point in time where if Sean Lee's ready to come back, he's not going to replace Jalen Smith and Leighton Van Der Esch, that's a good problem to have, but it's shocking. Considering even last year they lose Sean Lee. It's like, oh God, when is he going to come back? Because this defense can't do anything without him. Maury Perez gives the heart emojis. Maury, how are you? Mike Llewellyn says defense is legit. O-line played together. Finally, LBs are studs. Yeah. And again, let's please, for the love of God, put to rest this they should have drafted Calvin Ridley discussion for 100 reasons. But maybe most importantly, because Leighton Van Der Esch is really freaking good. Again, he led the league. He led the team in tackles yesterday. He had 11, had a pass defensed. He's a stud, and he's only going to continue to get better. I said this weeks ago when people brought it up, but let's just forever now put this Calvin Ridley should have been drafted by the Cowboys discussion to bed. He shouldn't have. The Cowboys drafted the right guy. They've got a stud linebacker now for years. Let's see here. Joe Tranchina says, bring Lee in on third down. Jason Wright says, why did it take so long to move Byron Jones to corner? It's a great question. I probably one to ask the Cowboys coaching staff. Great question, though. What, are you guys stupid? This guy's a really good corner. Why are you ever thinking of having him at safety? And this kind of goes back to one of the Cowboys' philosophies. And so they like to draft people that have positional versatility. Talk a lot about that. And that's great, but it's also one of those things where it's like, but then it puts you in position to where you're putting guys out of position, right? So it's nice to have players that have positional versatility, but it's also nice to play them in the right positions. And obviously Byron Jones is a great example of that. Ryan Humpert says Thomas is a solid linebacker. We have protection for injuries. Love John Lee, but we've got three great linebackers with Smith, LVE, and Thomas to fill in. Well, actually, Smith, LVE, and Damian Wilson. Thomas was hurt and has been out. When they go with three linebackers, it's Wilson who's been good. And so I don't know what it'll look like when they do have three linebackers when Sean Lee gets healthy. But yeah, this coming out of training camp, we thought this was the most depth they were going to have in their linebacking core in a long time. And I think that was even based on, we're not really sure what Leighton Van Der Esch will bring to the table because he was kind of a disappointment in training camp. But now we see I mean, he and Jalen Smith, man. I mean, it's incredible what they're doing together. And you can see how good of a defense you can truly be when you've got such great tacklers sideline to sideline in that second level. And that can just erase a running game. The Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. Shout out to all you folks watching across the Dallas Cowboys America's Team page. Steve Eason says, when I read before the draft, LVE was a tackle machine. I was all in on him. Ruben Castro says they need to keep winning, not win one, lose one. Keep going, Dallas Cowboys for life. Ken Ashcraft says, oops, I meant Terrence Williams, LOL. Michael Hood says Lee would have to take a huge pay cut and agree to be a part-time player. Yeah, which is probably why they're not going to keep him. Brian Hogan says number 57 Wilson is a stud and flies around too. Absolutely. Sue Brown says, should they hire Des Bryant back? No, Sue, they shouldn't. Let's see here. Maury Perez says, love my Cowboys. Awesome. Thank you for joining the stream. If you haven't yet already, hit the share button. Let's see what's going on over on the Dallas Cowboys Really Real fan page. Also, what I'm going to do right now is hit the share button. So if you all wouldn't mind, please do the same thing while I do that, because I just recognized that I didn't hit the share button when I got started. So my bad on that. But now is the time to do it, everybody. Hit share. Boom. There we go. I was asking everybody else to hit share, and I forgot to share it myself on my own page. I've let myself down. Let's see here. Also want to make sure I'm checking out the YouTube page. Trying to keep track and tabs on all these different pages that we're broadcasting on. So thank you to everybody who's watching this and posting your comments. Dem Boys 27 says, I think we need to play similar to that, but we need to get rid of Hearns and Thompson next year. Yeah. In fact, I'm part of the camp that says get rid of Hearns now. Go make a trade for Demaryius Thomas and go and get rid of Allen Hearns right now. Here is my Demaryius Thomas argument. Now, normally I am not a go make a trade at the trade deadline kind of guy. For one, football is about cohesion. You know, everybody has to be on the same page in order for a play to be successful. So it's not about the individual performer, but how they perform relative to what everybody else's responsibilities are. So it's hard to bring in a guy and then get him acclimated right away in the middle of a season. But I just think Demaryius Thomas is a guy that's produced every year he's been in the NFL, especially of late where they've had horrible quarterbacks in Denver. He's never had less than 900 yards receiving with all the jokes at quarterback they've had. He's also, he would count 17 million against the cap next year, which is no good. That's no good. Here's the good news, though. You can cut him, and it's only $3 million in dead money. So Broncos are going to cut him after this year anyways. My question is, could you trade a 6th-round pick for him? Like, if you called up Denver right now and said, hey, we'll give you a 6th-round pick for Demaryius Thomas, would they say yes? Because if you do, you're trading a 6th-round pick for basically a 1-year rental, or even a 5th-round pick for a half-a-year rental, who would immediately upgrade your receiver position. Then you can cut Allen Hearns, who's no good, and he's causing a lot of trouble, and bring in a guy who's always produced despite what they've had at quarterback. I know some people have been asking about Amari Cooper. I just don't know what that would take. For me, a guy like Demaryius Thomas has the potential to be a very low risk, given that Denver's going to cut him after this year. Now, maybe they want to keep him for the rest of this year and then cut him, and there's no, they don't see any value in getting a 5th-round pick for him or whatever it might be. But, I think it's worth at least exploring. If the Denver Broncos want to try to trade him, the Broncos are obviously going nowhere. They're horrible. So if you can trade a 5th or a 6th-round pick for Demaryius Thomas and not even worry about picking him up after this year because you're just gonna cut him and it's only gonna be $3 million in dead money, I like that move. The U comments, Dak just needs to run himself into throwing shape, help him take it up a notch. Sure. And by the way, thank you to all you watching across our YouTube page. If you don't already, make sure to go over to YouTube and subscribe to the page. And I will try to check in on all the comments going on throughout the course of this show. Lori Morales in the house. What's up, Lori? Dakota Stiegel says Swaim showed good stuff. If you haven't already, please hit the share button. Thank you for doing that. Michael Reese on the Dallas Cowboys Really Real fan page has the laughing emoji. Not sure what he's laughing at, but cool. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Let's try out America's Family. Silver and Blue Club. if I can find it really quickly. Apologies to everybody, but I'm trying to navigate through all these different pages at once. Bruno Encinas says shared. Thank you, Bruno. Patrick Prescott says, you guys losing your minds with how Dak played last year and you want Amari Cooper. That's pretty funny and agreed. And especially because, like, I don't really know what Amari Cooper would cost. Like, if it kind of comes down to, this is why I like Demaryius Thomas. One, he's produced regardless of the quarterback that have played. Two, it's pretty easy to get rid of that contract after this year. And three, I don't think you have to trade much to get him. Like, I don't think you have to give up much to get him. Those same variables aren't there for a guy like Amari Cooper. Let's see here. On the America's Fans Silver and Blue Club page, Brian Mason says, go Cowboys. Love it. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you saying that. Thank you for checking out the stream today. And thank you for everybody's checking out the stream every day. Again, quickest way to get in touch, quickest way to be a part of the show, quickest way to interact is by going to facebook.com/WatchPhantom, facebook.com/WatchPhantom, right there. Go to that page and post your comments there. That's the quickest way to get in touch. Answer this question for me. Does this 40-7 win over the Jaguars change your opinion of this season for the Cowboys? Last week, there was a lot of talk about getting rid of Garrett. When will it happen? Get rid of Linehan. When will it happen? Can it happen quickly? How quickly can it happen? How much have those conversations changed today? Post your comments, what you think. Thumbs up if you think, yeah, this completely changes my expectations. Now I'm thinking playoffs. Give me the heart emoji if you think, nope. I still think, they're delaying the inevitable. This is still an 8-8 season, and they should still fire Jason Garrett. Sean Moore says, this is an 8-8 team in my mind until I see them play strong on the road and become consistent offensively. I think that's fair. I don't know if I would say, well, it's an 8-8 team because of these things. I think we still don't know how excited we should be about this team based on the inconsistencies they've shown on offense. This was the type of game where everything worked. I mean, offense, defense, special teams, utter domination. But it was led by their offense. It wasn't as if, they got some big sacks early on and, or a turnover early on that sparked the offense. I mean, the offense sort of set itself up for success. And I mean, you look at the first couple drives. Jaguars go 3 and out. Cowboys had a 9-play drive. Jaguars go 3 and out. Cowboys with a 7-play drive. Jaguars go 3 and out. Cowboys with a 9-play drive. So it was like, it was like the defense played well, but the offense kept putting pressure on the Jaguars defense, kept putting points on the board, and everybody's going to look at this game and say, do that every game. Do that read option, get Dak out in space, and I agree with that. I just think like there are certain weeks in games where they've tried that and teams, had the right game plan defensively to stop it. Seattle's a good example of that. But obviously the Cowboys want to use the RPO. That has to be a big part of their arsenal in order for them to become successful and be consistent on offense. Daryl Burrell on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page says that was the best game plan since Manning versus Romo. I think Kellen Moore had a lot to do with that offensive game plan yesterday. Ilya Churn says, what's up, Ari? What's up, Ilya? How are you? Why, Daryl, do you think it was Kellen Moore's offensive game plan? I'm just curious why you think that. Curtis Stark says, I think the offensive coaches finally see that you have to take the training wheels off and not play footloose and fancy free. Mike Harper says, no, Garrett still needs to go, and we still need a bona fide number 1 receiver. I think I agree with you there. Eric Kashani says, hey, Ari, sorry I'm late. I was watching West Coast's show. All right, it's all good. I appreciate it. West Coast is the man also, so it's all good. I just think Tyson needs to not go at the same time as me. That's all I'm saying. But Tyson, the West Coast Cowboys, awesome. Let's see here. Ryan Humpert says, we're going 8-8. Dak's below average pocket passer. Draft Herbert. Don Dyer says, it all opens up with Dak runs. Yep. To this point right now in his career, Dak's best asset is his ability to run. That's his best asset. And, I think the Cowboys used the Jacksonville defense and their consistent over pursuit in order to take advantage of it. And, again, I'm excited to watch the All-22 film to really, because after this game ends, it's like, how did everything work so well? Like, how can an offense that is basically bottom 4th in every statistical category, how can they put up 40 points on a defense that's top 4 in every statistical category? Like it's confounding. It makes no sense. But obviously, early on, that run-pass option worked very, very well. And Dak Prescott hit some receivers. They had more space, I think, than they thought they would. Or at least that we thought we would. Again, sitting with Tony Hill in the press box, he knows Cole Beasley well. He said Cole told him before the game that he was going to be targeted a bunch in this game. He's going to be featured a bunch in this game. And I don't know what they saw in film, if it was Tyler Patman, the former Cowboy, that they knew they could expose. But yeah, I mean, everything went right. And if the idea here is we'll just duplicate that every game, it's like, well, what is it that they did here that they haven't done in previous weeks? And on the post-game show last night, Jesse Holley said, well, they executed, right? Like in previous weeks, they haven't exactly executed, where they've had missed assignments, missed blocks, guys aren't running the right routes, guys aren't on the same page. That was sort of the talk last week, especially in light of what Alan Hearns' comments were, where Dak was basically like, hey, we weren't all on the same page. If I've got an audible that's a hand signal and Alan Hearns doesn't see that, well, then that's what went wrong. And, it seems like it's those little things that really added up. And that's why the Cowboys found themselves where they were when it came to the type of offensive football they were playing. And, I'll say this. How could you not be more optimistic about the season after this game? How could you not? I mean, they're 3-3. They've, already played a pretty tough schedule. And the opponents they've already played, they're going to play everybody else in the division for the most part, with a few exceptions. So, the chance the Cowboys have to make the playoffs, we'll have a better idea of what that will be next Sunday when they play the Washington Redskins. But as of right now, how will the Cowboys play against Washington and Philadelphia? That's the question, and that the answer to that question gives us a pretty good indication of if this team's a legitimate playoff team. But at the very least, we saw with our own eyes what this offense looks like at its finest. Will we see it every week? No. We're not going to put up 40 points every week. But this defense has only given up 17 points a game now. So, again, if they can consistently be between 20 and 30 points on a weekly basis, they're going to be a much more consistent and better and more productive offense that's going to win more games. And we've seen a really good offense once. We've seen a really good offense twice. We've seen an okay offense once additional times. And then we've seen a bad offense 3 times. So we've seen a bad offense on the road 3 times, but 3 good offenses on their home games and 2 really good offenses in 2 of those 3 home games. So it kind of comes down to, well, we've seen these things with our own eyes, so they can happen. It's one thing for the offensive coaching staff and the offensive players to say, this offense, all they have to do is execute, and they're capable of scoring a ton and not see it. It's another thing for them to say it, and then I'll see it. And that's the truth here, right? Like, they had been saying it. We just need to execute. It's just about our ability to execute. It was like, well, there's nothing we can go off of that we'd buy that. Well, now there is. Truthfully, it might be 1 week and 1 game, but there's something that we can go off of that verifies what they've been saying as far as just needing to execute. Ryan Humpert says, do you disagree with drafting a Herbert or Greer or McSorley? Do you really think that Dak will have the throwing ability to lead this team against playoff teams? No, Ryan, I agree that the Cowboys should probably look at drafting a quarterback in the first round. Will they be high enough to draft Herbert? Probably not. My guess is Herbert will be the first quarterback off the board, and maybe even with the first overall pick. But should they take a quarterback in the first round? Probably. But a lot of that goes on where they fall, how they evaluate quarterbacks, and what happens the rest of this season. G. Garcia says, we're going to the Super Bowl, damn it. Sean Moore says, meh, when was the last time running quarterback won a Super Bowl? Doesn't happen. You might say Steve Young, but, there's a quote that I always go back to from Steve Young, which is Bill Walsh told him, you have to exercise the entirety of the play. So, even Steve Young would call himself a pocket passer. You have to be a pocket passer. You can run. Like, look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a running quarterback, but he sits in the pocket. He surveys the field. He's trying to win the game from the pocket. He's not trying to win the game with his legs. At this point, though, the Cowboys are trying to win the game however they can. Look, I certainly think you can say we've seen enough to know that Dak Prescott's not a pocket passer. But I also think like it takes a long time to develop quarterbacks, so you can certainly make the argument that he's still developing. But I certainly think the rest of the season will give us a pretty good indication of if they should look at drafting quarterback in the first round this upcoming draft. Let's see here. Jose Salas says trade for Cooper. I'd rather see them go trade for Demaryius Thomas. But that might be just me. Sue Brown says new offensive coordinator, better offense without Lee, better defense without Lee, newfound power and belief. Go 10-7. 10-6, sorry. Mark Martin says go Cowboys, we still alive. That's right. That's right. Cowboys are still alive. Still with a heartbeat. They're going to have to win road games at some point, but and hopefully that's this weekend. That's Sunday. By the way, speaking of Sunday, you'll notice a Parkway Tavern logo here. So that is where our watch party will be. If you've been checking out Walt and Dalton, they've been doing a great job with our Cowboys weekly watch parties. Well, they're going to be at Parkway Tavern in Plano on Sunday for Cowboys and Skins. And Parkway Tavern is going to be giving away a Yeti cooler during that game. So, we'll have a deal where you can get a free appetizer when you dine in at Parkway Tavern during the game. And also make sure to make plans to go watch the game at Parkway Tavern because you could win a Yeti cooler. So, again, make plans to be out at Parkway Tavern next Sunday. Cowboys Skins, 3:25 start. Parkway Tavern in Plano, just right off the Dallas North Tollway. Eric Koscielny says, I'd like to say this D is legit, but Jags played so bad I can't tell who did what. This D is legit. I mean, it's not like they played really well in one game. Like, there's one game we can say where the defense didn't play really well. And that's that Lions game. And it's only that I say that because they gave up 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns where the offense had to overcome it. Like, they gave up 24 points in that game. Now, they gave up 24 points against Seattle, and I would say the defense probably let them down more in that Lions game because the Cowboys had the lead and the defense gave it up. But, I mean, as inconsistent as this offense has been, the defense has been very consistent. And we saw that in training camp, we saw that in the preseason, and now we've seen it through 6 weeks in the season. I mean, they're number 2 right now in scoring defense, this defense. This is a legit defense. This is not just they've played bad teams, they played the Jaguars kind of thing. This is a legit scoring defense. G. Garcia says, we just beat down the number 1 defense and everyone's still questioning us. WTF, everyone picked Jags to beat us and all of a sudden they had a bad quarterback. Agreed. Look, I'm one that says never diminish or poo-poo any particular win in the NFL, especially at this point in time where the Cowboys are, where they're needing wins. But I mean, look, yeah, we know the Jaguars had a bad offense, but we know they also had a great defense. And the reason I picked the Jaguars to win this game, which I was wrong. I admit it, I was wrong. But the reason we did that was because I had more confidence in the Jaguars offense scoring against the Cowboys defense than I did on the Cowboys offense scoring on the Jaguars defense. But 40-7, and I was clearly very wrong. Esquiel Olmos on the Dallas Cowboys America's team page says, agree with your trade for Denver Broncos wide receiver Thomas and then draft a top wide receiver. Mark Martin says, I like Dak's anticipation much better on having a quick release and play loose and free playing within himself. Zeke and Dak play off each other. If that continues, they can beat anyone combined with their defense. Yeah. The read option is the best base offense for this team right now. Dak Prescott is best suited as a running quarterback. he is not best suited as a pocket passer. When teams make him into a pocket passer, the Cowboys aren't as good. I kind of think it's just that simple. The Jaguars did not force Dak to become a pocket passer. Eric Kashani says, I don't want OBJ anywhere near the Cowboys. He's a diva and got rid of Dez for that reason. OBJ will ruin our locker room. Who suggested Odell? I mean, that Odell Beckham Jr. is a great receiver. He's one of the 5 best receivers of the game. The Cowboys would love to have him. They're not trading Odell Beckham Jr. to the Cowboys. There is a 0% chance the Giants would do that. Eric Kashani says Jags weren't number 1 yesterday and they didn't have Fournette. They were number 1. I mean, they're one of the number. I mean, it depends on which statistic you're looking for. I mean, if you're looking at total defense, I believe they were, they're number 3. They were number 3 in scoring defense and number 1 in yards. I mean, what defense is better? Right now, Baltimore's defense has given up the least amount of points through 6 games. The Bears have a good defense. The Cowboys have a good defense. Who has a better defense than Jacksonville going into this game? Now, their offense is bad. Don't get me wrong. Their offense was bad. It's without Fournette. And I think in some ways the Jaguars are probably overlooking the Cowboys. It's funny because both the Jaguars and Cowboys both have divisional games next week. Leonard Fournette will return next week. So maybe there was this whole like ease up kind of thing. This is a road AFC NFC game from the Jaguars' perspective. And look, motivation is such a key factor, which is sometimes something we completely underlook and underappreciate the importance that thing can have. Rodney Carlson in the house. Fabian Lama says Chris Broussard for head coach next season. You're talking about Chris Richard, I'm assuming, not Chris Broussard, the NBA reporter. I think that's what you're saying. Checking on YouTube. Nobody's commenting over on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit up the comments. Thank you for all watching across all these different pages and platforms that you're watching on. I appreciate you. But on the Dallas Cowboys report page, Bobby Grassi says roller coaster season, up and down. Never know what this team's going to never know which team is going to show up. Jose Salas says they were top 3D and only had 1 defensive player hurt, not even a starter. Yeah, no, that's a legit defense that they put a butt whoop into. I mean, they scored 40 points on one of, if not the best defense in the NFL. That is well beyond what anybody expected and a very, very impressive win for the Cowboys. But the point made, which is they're up and down, inconsistent, a roller coaster, is absolutely categorically correct. And I think the one thing we do know is this defense is going to show up. This defense is going to keep them in games. From what the range from what we've seen is this defense will keep it between, 16 to 24 points. So that's where the onus now becomes on the offense to be able to consistently get 20 to 30 points. Because if we know, hey, this defense is going to put this team in range, holding teams, I mean, they haven't given up in any game this season more than 24 points. That's the most they've given up, and in twice they've done that. Back-to-back weeks, as a matter of fact. Seattle and Detroit, they gave up 24 points those games and have not given up anything more than 24. So if this defense is going to limit teams to below 24, then it's the Cowboys' offense now that needs to be consistent with getting this team between 20 and 30 points a game. Or more to the point, over 24. But that's what we're looking for. We're looking for consistency. Sean Moore says, I'm glad we didn't trade top picks for Earl Thomas. Dakota Stiegel says, I said this yesterday to you, Ari. I can't handle this emotional roller coaster with the Cowboys being good than bad. Yeah, but at least they're in it. Thomas Neighbors gives me the thumbs up. Thumbs up, Thomas Neighbors, meaning, yes, this changes the way he views this season. Frank Holly in the house, what up? Wayne Bledsoe says teams were very similar. At least we got more aggressive this game, and you see it paid off. Look, I think, and again, once I go back and watch the All-22, I'll have a better idea. But number one, their offensive line balled out. Let's give credit where credit is due. The Jaguars have a good defense, but the Jaguars' defense is built up front. Calais Campbell, Ngakoue, Fowler. This is a dominant defensive line, and this offensive line of the Cowboys completely controlled it. And because of that, the read option worked very well. They used the Jaguars over pursuit in order to take advantage, and that's what they did, right? They run Zeke to one side, fake that handoff, roll Dak out to the other side, he'd throw or he'd run upfield. And that's where they absolutely gashed them. That, and they knew, I think, they could expose and exploit Tyler Patman in coverage against Cole Beasley, which is something they obviously did. Mike Wellman says Lee will probably get a hangnail first play back and go back to the sideline. Isaiah Duran says just wait until we get Sean Lee back. This is kind of what I've been saying, but the Cowboys, their most used defensive package is their nickel. Which makes sense because nickel package is used against, three or four wideout sets, right? So that's the way the NFL goes now. It's spread you out, throw the football a bunch. So when they're in that formation, when they're in their nickel defense, they're going with two linebackers, in Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith. Well, you're not putting Sean Lee back out there for Leighton Van Der Esch at this point. I mean, that before the Lee injury, it was Lee and Jalen Smith, but at this point, you've got to continue to develop with Leighton Van Der Esch. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they do when Sean Lee comes back. Ilya Churn says, what's best case scenario for this team? 10-6, the first round playoff exit. Even if we go to the playoffs, we're going to get out-coached. I love the W against Jacksonville, but I don't believe in Red Jay and Scott. Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree with you. I don't really believe in their coaching staff either. But who knows? What's the ceiling for this team? 10-6? 11-5. I mean, probably 10-6. But I don't know. At this point, let's just not sort of, create these expectations for the rest of the season. The good news is we've seen this offense, what it's capable of. We had questioned whether or not this offense could be this productive. So now we've seen that it could. Best case scenario, it could do this. So now it's about, let's see more consistency from this offense. It seems like every time we've seen a good game from the offense, the next game they follow it up where it looks awful again, where, something's off. The receiving core's off. The offensive line's not holding. Dak's bad. The play calling's bad. So this is one of those things where everything went right. But before we sort of make these long-term predictions about what's possible for this team, let's at least see the next few weeks play out, because it's hard to predict what we think could be the future of this franchise and this team right now, because this game really throws a wrench in what we thought and what we expected. Ty Shelton says 10-6, definitely the ceiling. 8-8 is the expectation for multiple people. Yeah, I'd say that's fair. Steve Easton says, as of now, I'm going to enjoy this win. As you should. John Sanchez says 8-8. They always do this. Win one, lose one. Travis Adams says, I believe in Garrett, just not Linehan. Well, then you're the one. I'm just kidding. JT Riles says we need to trade Sean Lee or make him a coach. 13-3. You think you're going to win out, JT? My God, I'd like to be that confident. Fabian Lamas says D is definitely legit, only going to get better. Jalen Smith is a stud. So is Leighton Van Der Esch. Houston Cowboys in the house. What up, Houston Cowboys? It does not change my opinion at all. I want to see consistency. Yeah. Look, and I think that's a very reasonable take today. It's a great win. It's a fun win. It's one of those wins where it shocks you and it's exciting, and it's like while it's happening, it's like you're waiting to wake up from the dream, but I think at this point, it just gives us an indication of what this offense can be. We at least see now for the first time that this offense can really play well when it gets rolling. We hadn't seen that in a long, long time, but we finally saw it. So now it's about moving forward. Okay, I'm still not going to expect this team to be that good until I can see them be that good consistently. We know this defense is consistent. Now it's just a matter of the offense, because until this game, they were averaging 16.6 points per game. They scored 83 points. The Cowboys scored 83 points the first 5 games of the season. They scored 40 in Week 6. So they scored basically half the amount of points in one game that they scored in 5 previous games. So what is that? So 83 points in 5 games was 16.6 points per game. So what's 123 divided by 6? Because that's how much they drastically improved their points per game average with this win. Let's see. 83 plus 40 is, just to make sure, 123. Divide that by 6. So it's 20 and a half. It's a much more respectable number. The average is 24. Keep that in mind. So the team that's 15th, 16th in the NFL right now is at 24 points per game. The Cowboys were at 16.6 coming in. They score 40, which increases their points per game total to 20.5. Incredible. Now let's see if we can see it more consistently, obviously. Let's see here. Sean Moore says 7 and 9. I think you're just saying that because that's what you want. Ryan Huppert says, Ari, 10 and 6. I'll be shocked. No way. I wish, but no way. Not without a pure pocket passer. Teams will force him in the pocket. Yeah, I mean, I just said 10 and 6 is the ceiling. Like, that's best case scenario given what we've seen so far. Which, again, I don't think that means they're going to get there, but it certainly could. It's reasonable to think they can only lose 3 more games the rest of this year. But, I mean, you're going to have to score more than 24, 25 points a game in order for me to believe that you can be a 10 and 6 football team. That's for this team to be a 10 and 6 team, they've got to go from bottom 4 in scoring offense to top 8 in scoring offense. Top 10 in scoring offense. They're on their way. Sean Moore says, LOL, 10 and 6 is a miracle expectation. Agreed. Bruce Nygaard says 11 and 5. Tony Enriquez says, what would be your take on the boys if they drop 40 on the Skins? There's some consistency is what I would say, right? Like, if they scored 40 in back-to-back weeks against the Jaguars and the Redskins, then I'd start believing a little bit more in this offense. I would start to say that there's some consistency now that we're starting to see. Now they're starting to click. Brian Walker says it's a 9 and 7 team. Look, I think this gives us... I've pretty much heard everything now from 7 and 9 to... I think somebody said 13 and 3. So, probably gives us a good indication that we really have no idea. But maybe that's just me. Fun game, exciting game, a lot of things to be excited about. Michael Gallup, I didn't even mention him, but he had a really nice drive. He should have come down with that touchdown pass. As he gets more experienced, he'll know he needs to get that second foot down. You see experienced receivers sort of know these kinds of things, and this is just part of the growing process that he's going to have to go through. But I think we saw the potential. And I still think that they look at this guy as becoming a potential, still a number 1 guy. But the fact that he hasn't really shown that in year 1 shouldn't be a discouragement from Cowboys fans. It's rare that a rookie receiver comes in and lights it up. The last rookie receiver to have 1,000 yards receiving was Amari Cooper. And look at how bad he is now. But there were no rookie receivers last year with 1,000 yards. There were no rookie receivers the year before that with 1,000 yards. And maybe Ridley will do that this season. Maybe. So it's just, it's a rarity for a rookie receiver to put up big-time numbers. But we saw, I would say, Michael Gallup's best game as a pro. I mean, he had a really nice catch, just went out and got the football, and then had that touchdown pass. Just wasn't able to get his second foot in. But, that's something that in the future, which, by the way, if you saw the video of it, it was like skywalking there for a moment. But, I mean, that's just one of those things that he'll grow. It's just part of the growing pains. In a few years from now, that's going to be a touchdown. Mike Tipton in the house. What up, Tipton? Bobby Gray says, more confidence and experience will tell. Exactly. Wayne Bledsoe says, I agree. They're a 10 and 6 team wildcard team. Charity Russ says, yes, too inconsistent. Yes. All right. If you watch the show every day, you know that at the end of the show, I always do an inspirational story every day. And so here's my inspirational story. You guys know who Zeke Elliott is, yes? So Zeke Elliott's rookie season, he wore a orange band on his wrist. You may notice this, which was for Jake Silver, who lives in Boston and is a huge Ohio State fan, who suffers from osteocarcinoma, I believe, which is bone cancer, I believe. 14-year-old kid, got bone cancer, was suffering through it, going through chemo, had to quit football, big Ohio State fan. So basically his sister reached out to Zeke Elliott during Zeke Elliott's rookie season with the Cowboys. Told him the story. Zeke found it in his Instagram direct messages, said, this is really cool, send me a band. Started wearing it during Cowboys games, wore it every Cowboys game, every practice, and continues to do so, which I didn't realize. I remember this story his rookie year, and then Jory Epstein from the Dallas Morning News tweeted out earlier, yesterday before the game, that he's still wearing the bracelet, and during the game yesterday, Zeke Elliott got Jake Silver and his family tickets to the game, which is really cool, and you can see the pictures there. So the inspirational story, that Zeke Elliott did this really cool thing for a guy that was suffering from cancer during his rookie season and continued to carry it on through. You know, sometimes you'll see people, I wouldn't just say professional athletes, but people that take on certain causes that, like, after and over time, the cause sort of falls through the cracks, and now they just go back to living their lives and they forget about the cause. This is 3 straight years, I should say. He's keeping up the cause, keeping in touch with the family. That's a really cool thing to see. And as much negative publicity as there seems to be around Zeke Elliott, and have been throughout the course of his career, man, this is some really cool publicity for him, and something that he's inspirational in doing. Because I'm sure, and I know what his motivation was, and he said this, his quote was, you know, now it gives a sense of community to other people. Like, he's wearing this band for Jake Silver, and now Jake Silver and his family feel like they're a part of what he's doing, and so many other people that may be suffering from cancer, that watch that know that story, may be inspired themselves. So shout out to Zeke Elliott for continuing to do good for Silver Strong and the Silver family. So make sure whenever you see Zeke Elliott's wrist with the orange band, it's for Silver Strong, for Jake Silver, who I believe now is 16, continues to suffer from cancer, but is still alive and still fighting, which is an incredible story unto itself. All right, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being a part of today's show, an everyday show. Thank you to all of the Showtimers out there that stream this show every single day. This show wouldn't be what it is without you. So shout out to those of you that are Showtimers that stream this show every day. Joe Tranchina, Eric Koscielny, Sean Moore, Michael Lafferty, Ryan Humpert, Joe Tranchina, Neil Favre, G. Garcia, the Houston Cowboys, John Dyer, Keith Price, Brian Walker, Lori Morales, Billy Burke, Wayne Bledsoe, Bobby Gray, and on and on and on. Curtis Starks, I apologize if I missed any of you. Ty Shelton, but thank you all for being a part of this show each and every day. If this is your first time, thank you for checking this show out. I'm back tomorrow and each and every weekday at 12 o'clock Central Time right here on Phantom. If you don't yet, make sure to go over to the facebook.com/Watch Phantom page and like the page. But that's it for now. Until tomorrow, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.